the ExecMBA podcast. I'm your host, Brett Twitty, and you are listening to a new episode. On this episode of the podcast, I'm excited to share my recent conversation with Christine Mayer and Samantha Karp. Christine and Samantha are part-time MBA students here at the Darden School of Business, and they are also leaders with the Part-Time MBA Student Association, or PSA as it's known around these parts. I recently connected with Christine and Samantha to talk a little bit more about their backgrounds, the decision to pursue an MBA, what led them to Darden, how they decided to get involved with the PSA's plans for the year ahead, and so much more. I think you're really going to enjoy this conversation. And as always, if this conversation is helpful for you, please like this episode and subscribe to the ExecMBA podcast so you never miss an update. And remember, you can always check the episode description for links to Darden blogs, social channels, and more. And now, without further ado, here's my conversation with Christine Mayer and Samantha Karp. Sam, Christine, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Brett. Thank you for having us.
Great to be here. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much for doing this. I feel like I just saw you because, well, I did just see you Thursday night. Y'all were leading a part-time MBA student association. What's it all about session? Sam, do you want to tell us a little bit more about what that session was?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're really excited that we just welcomed a new class of students into the part-time cohort. And so we are about to have elections for the Part-Time Student Association for that class. And so Christine and I and several other members of the Part-Time Student Association, or PSA, held a session about what it looks like to be involved and the different opportunities that are available for student leadership.
Christine, it looked like y'all had a pretty good turnout last night.
Yeah, I think we had roughly 15 incoming cohort of 28 students attend, and they had a lot of great questions. So similar to Sam's sentiments, we're really excited to kind of bring them into our PSA board.
All right. Well, thank you so much for doing this. Part-Time MBA Student Association is a leadership opportunity out there for part-time MBA students here at the Darden School of Business. I think we have 10 official student groups, a number of emerging kind of interest groups, which is not quite an official student club, but it's on its way there. And of course, we have student associations for both the executive MBA students as well as the part-time MBA students. So before we get into all of that, then we're going to talk about the PSA later. But before we get there, I'd like to talk about you. And so, Christine, can I come to you first? Would you mind just tell us a little bit more about who you are and your background?
Yeah, of course. So my background is very much intertwined with aerospace. Ever since I saw my first Star Trek episode, I became obsessed with everything space and air. And pretty soon that led me to get an undergraduate in aerospace engineering. After that, my passion built when I worked at Boeing as a flight test engineer, and I traveled all over the country, even during COVID. So it was so much fun to see all of the coasts and get to work that closely with some of our military customers. And that is what led me to DC because I loved working with customers so much. I loved the defense industry. And I found an opportunity to actually work on the front end of the company in business development for Leonardo DRS. Aside from that, I love pickleball. I love a brunch in DC. That's very much a part of DC culture. So I'm very grateful to be here.
Yeah, I can't think of another city that takes brunch quite so seriously. How long have you been playing pickleball? Pickleball, of course, also taking DC by storm. I hear it on my walk home. There's a group that plays at a park in Georgetown, and you can hear it from several blocks away. I'm sure the neighbors are thrilled about that. But how long have you been playing pickleball?
Yeah, so me and my fiance actually started playing about 3 years ago, and it's been so much fun. As you said, probably horrible for anyone living around the surrounding courts, but it's a really great way to just kind of connect with people. And my dad just picked it up recently, so hopefully we'll be able to play it back in Chicago. Or maybe Brett, me and you one day will be able to go out on a court.
Played one time. I played in jeans. My cousins gave me so much grief about it. To be honest, I was not told that we were going to play pickleball. So they are much more fashion forward than I am. I'm a podcast host. The great thing about that is you don't have to really worry too much about your wardrobe. So here we are. All right, Sam, tell us a bit more about you, your background.
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually am a double who, and did my undergrad at UVA. I was very kind of liberal arts focused and double majored in psychology, and women, gender, and sexuality. And after graduation, decided to join the Virginia College Advising Corps to be a college counselor and help students achieve and think about their post-secondary plans. And so that brought me to the Northern Virginia area, where I've been for the last 10 years, which is crazy. I can't believe it's been that long. And so after being a college counselor for a while, decided I want something a little different. And so moved into the education technology space. So right now I currently work at the Common App on the product strategy team, leading our direct admissions effort. So really closely intertwined with education and the impact it has on students' lives. And so the opportunity to come to Darden to continue my education at UVA was really powerful, and led me there, and it's been a great journey so far.
Yeah, what's been a highlight for you, Sam, as you think about your time here at Darden? Something stand out from the experience so far?
Yeah, I think that, and I might have mentioned this last time, I think really the community at Darden has been really special, and the chance to really make an impact, especially for a program as new as the part time program. And so being able, especially through student leadership and, just by being in the program in general, the program's really open to feedback and how it can change and improve. And so being able to kind of leave my mark and impact the community at large has been really amazing, and something that I didn't really necessarily like foresee when I was applying to business school, but has been a really impactful and really a hallmark of my time at Darden.
Yeah, it feels like we've been at this for a while, but honestly, we're recruiting our fifth class of part-time MBA students. We just welcomed our fourth class of part-time MBA students. So not so long, but we did have our first graduates from the program this past May. So we're getting there. It's a more established program, but you're right. We're still relatively new and definitely an opportunity. I think always for students here at Darden to make an impact, to have a voice in their experience, very much a real dialogue between the program leadership and student leaders and just students generally about how's the program going? How can we improve? You can't act upon every piece of feedback, but definitely if it's a good idea and it can be implemented, I think the program leadership does a good job of incorporating that. I always tell folks, people ask us kind of where we are in the program phase at this point. And I always tell them that we're in the optimization phase. Like we've got good plan in place and good structure in place, and students are helping us think about how to make it better. So, Christine, do you have a favorite memory or part of your experience thus far?
Yeah, so similar to Sam, I think the work with the program team is exceptional and the ability of them to go and take our ideas and actually create action from them if they're able to. But I think a secondary for me is really just the quality of the students. I mean, my cohort, we are a really close knit bunch. I think we had 40 individuals show up after class last night for superlatives. And just being able to experience that group of individuals, being able to learn from each other in the classroom, and also being able to make true friendships, it's just an incredible experience. And I feel very grateful for that.
I'm not familiar with superlatives in the part-time MBA classes. Is this something new for your class, Christine, or I'm curious?
Yes, it is new. One of our students, Akash, actually came up with the idea of coming up with superlatives for each of the 70 part-time NBA students in my cohort. So each student submitted their ideas, and then Akash kind of drafted up those final superlatives, and those were handed out last night.
And superlatives, not a roast or anything like that.
No, not a roast at all.
All right, that sounds like fun. Okay, well, I want to talk a little bit more about your respective adjustments to being a part-time MBA student. So, Sam, you're a class of 2026 member. You're taking electives now. How does it feel to be at that point in the program?
It's really exciting. I think that, when you come in, 3 years can feel like a long time. And at times it does, but I think overall the program goes by really quickly, and being able to choose classes and meet different professors, and be in like sometimes smaller classes is also really nice. And so it's really exciting that this is my last year in the program, that I'm continuing to learn and build on what we learned on in core. And I think like one of the great things about electives is how focused the professors are and making sure that you can apply what we're learning into your everyday job. And that's really been true throughout my time at Darden, but I think in electives electives that's really highlighted because of the really specific nature of the electives. And so I've taken a really wide variety of electives, which I think is great, just being able to see all the things that Darden has to offer. And, these are professors' areas of expertise often. And so they're really excited about the material as well.
And part-time MBA students have an opportunity to take 17 electives. Sam, would you mind telling us about an elective you're currently taking or you recently taken that you really enjoyed?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, I am in two electives. So I'm in one that is in a part-time format, which is effectual entrepreneurship. And so it takes entrepreneurship and kind of thinks about, okay, what are ways that entrepreneurs can be successful? And Professor Sarasvathy is really the pioneer in this field, which is amazing that we all get to learn from her because she's the one that really coined the term effectual entrepreneurship. And even though I'm not necessarily interested in starting my own venture, I think the class really spoke to me because of the way that you can apply that line of thinking to whatever business that you're in. And then the other elective I'm in is actually cross enrolled in the executive MBA format. And it's digital product management, which is really aligns very well with my day job, which is really nice to be able to kind of take what I'm doing and learn about it in a more formalized manner because I came into product in a very kind of unstructured, unformalized way. And so being able to now kind of learn about it through the case method has been amazing. And I will say, I think one of my favorite electives so far is the product prototyping and development class that was led by Professor Raul. And so that class, you get to take an idea, you're in a small group, and for the, course throughout the course of the elective term, you're really just working on developing the idea and testing and experimenting with it. And so it's really fun to really be hands-on with an idea for that long.
That's awesome. I'm one of the things that I appreciate about what you shared is underscores the fact that as a part-time MBA student, you're not just limited to part-time MBA electives or electives that are on the part-time MBA schedule. Of course, you could just choose to take part-time MBA electives if you wanted to, but you also have access to executive MBA electives, or I should say, electives that are on the executive MBA schedule. And so you do the math. It's typically about maybe 3 or 4 electives that are on the part-time MBA schedule in a given elective quarter and maybe 10 or so that are on the executive MBA schedule. So it's quite a bit to choose from. And so it kind of depends on how much schedule flexibility you have. But do you anticipate taking additional executive MBA schedule electives?
I do. So when I was choosing my electives, I really just went with the classes that were most interesting to me, regardless of the format. And so I think I have signed up for at least one other executive format class because the topic was really interesting to me. And it's also a great chance to meet other people in the Darting community that you haven't been in class with. And so that's been another perk as well. And so, yeah, when I was signing up for electives, I kind of stuck. I think I, tried to see, okay, can I do one exec format if that, was something interesting to me, and then one in the typical part-time format, because, I have liked that throughout the course of my time here.
And the typical part-time format for folks who are just learning about the program is the evening weeknight class. During the elective period in the part-time MBA program, there are classes offered on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday evenings. For executive MBA electives, the structure of that program is once a month weekend residencies with online classes during the week. So depending upon the elective that you choose, you might have class in person on a Friday or Saturday and Sunday morning or Saturday and Sunday afternoon, and you would expect to have at least one day of distance per week associated with that elective, and that could be on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday evening. We will not ask anybody to remember that just based on this, but it's just trying to expose you to how the program works a little bit. Christine, how about for you? You're still in the core, right? Member of our Parts of MBA class of 2027. What are you doing right now?
Yeah, so I'm still in core. Currently, we're actually taking our first operations class, who is also with Raul as our professor. And then in addition to that, we are taking our second marketing course with Professor Rung Wilcox, and we're actually in a market simulation course, which is really fascinating. You get to kind of test out your market strategy and see how it does with a simulated stock market as well as with stimulated customers. So it's a really great way to test all of the concepts that we learned in Marketing One and see how we do in a simulated real life experiment. Aside from those courses, I think this general state of being a year in, is really nice. All of the students, we've kind of found our rhythm with how to balance both schoolwork and our work and our professional life. And so I feel like it allows us all to breathe a little bit easier at night and also be able to really focus on those important moments, especially within everything that's going on at Darden.
Do you have a favorite class you've taken thus far? I recognize you're still in the core, and in the part-time program, the core is the first 18 months. So you got more core to go, but do you have a favorite class thus far?
So far, it's really hard to say, but I think it would be econ. We have a great professor, Felipe, and the way he's able to describe not only past economic events, but current ones as well as potential future ones is really fascinating. I think it sets up students really well to be able to discuss on both demand and supply side economic kind of situations as well as strategies in a really good way.
If there was only something to discuss in global economics right now.
If only were.
Only. That's right, that's right. Well, as I mentioned, we're gonna talk about, the Part-Time MBA Student Association. Sam, how would you explain, what the PSA is?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the Part-Time Student Association is a group of students that lead different sections of the part-time class. And so, the goal of the PSA overall is to kind of serve as a liaison between the cohort as a whole and the program team. So, we're providing feedback and making sure that the team has a good pulse of what's going on, and also just making sure that we have a great and lasting and impactful student experience. And so the PSA really advocates for students and makes sure that we're hearing feedback and implementing the changes that we can, whether that is in the academic space and hosting study sessions, whether it's in the career space and working with career services or social events. We are also the ones that host a lot of the social events for students outside of the classroom. And so, really bringing together not only students' experience inside the classroom, but making sure they have a great experience co curricularly and socially as well.
Christine, can you give us some examples of events, or programming that the PSA has sponsored?
Oh, most definitely. So I think from our community committee specifically, they've just stood up Reese Across America last year in December, and they're actually making that a tradition here at the Darden Part-Time MBA program. So we're now inviting MBAs to also join us this year, along with alumni, and that'll happen in December. It's a really great way to give back in the Arlington location. And then for social, there's so many, Brett, but the biggest one is probably Winter Ball. At that event last year, we went to Sequoia down in Georgetown, and it's truly where about 200 of our students, as well as their partners, come together for really great food, the ability to dance, and just to talk and celebrate all that they've done in Darden so far.
Yeah, it was a wonderful event. I've been to the Winter Ball, I think, every year, and it keeps getting progressively nicer and nicer. I don't know what comes after Sequoia at Georgetown, but I'm excited to see. And y'all been so nice to include faculty and staff in that. So thank you for that. Um, One of the things that's interesting to me when we talk to prospective students is oftentimes when they look at a part-time program, they think they have to give up community. They feel like, well, this is just going to be about getting an MBA. I'm going to be really busy. I'm doing work and coming in for class in the evenings, and that'll be it. But Sam, when I listen to what Christine shared, and obviously, yeah, know this from being around the program, that's not the experience here. Why do you think the experience here is a little bit different?
Yeah, I think this was one of the things that drew me to Darden was that sense of community. And even with a hybrid model, you really feel that, even, when you're taking classes on Zoom every other week through the core. And I think it's just students are really interested in meeting one another and getting to know one another. And especially the part time cohort, a size of 70 ish students is really great. So you get to know everyone. The first week of the program is spent in Charlottesville during residency one. And that's really a great time to get to know each other. And especially because everyone is based in the DC, Northern Virginia area, it gives people a lot of opportunities to get to know each other. And so, even if people are just coming right before class and maybe have to leave after class, there's still other opportunities to get to know people, to hang out socially, and to create that community. And so I don't think that being a part time student, you've given up that community at all. I think you are in a cohort that uniquely understands what you're trying to do in a way that a lot of other people don't, because they're the ones that are going through it with you as well. And so to have people that are there, that are supporting you, that know what you're going through is really special. And I think that it makes Darden what it is in terms of the community. And I think one other piece of that is the learning teams, and kind of getting that like smaller community feel right off the bat. And so in the part-time program, you're assigned to a learning team right before you start the program. And that is the team that you'll go over cases with and prepare for class. And for a lot of people, that really becomes like their in entrance into the community as well. So my learning team, we also play pickleball and we go out for trivia and things like that. It's just been a really great way to get to know people on a more individual level.
One of the things I think is really interesting about the part-time program, as you mentioned, is everybody's really local. I mean, we have a few students from Richmond, a few students from Baltimore, but 85, 90% of a typical part-time MBA class will live within 30 miles or less of our location here in Arlington, and with a number of students living even closer than that. So it is kind of a residential program in a way, but of course, people are working while doing it, but people live very close to one another. It makes it easy to get together for things like the Winter Ball or service events or to play pickleball, for example. So, Christine, for you, when people ask you about the sort of community end of the experience, what do you share with them about the part-time MBA program?
Yeah, so very similar to Sam, I think the community is one of the most important aspects that I wasn't expecting to have as big of an impact on my journey as it truly has. I mean, I think that, Brett, that starts with you. You are incredible at picking wonderful students to join our cohort who want to connect, who have great ideas. And to Sam's point, that connection starts rather in R1. And then after you kind of build those connections, you're able to go ahead and meet outside of class. I know we have a Darden Ladies annual picnic on the lawn over in DC every single year. And that's kind of how that community builds. Especially in recent times, I think it's been very nice to see that if a certain student is looking for another job or to switch industries, everyone from the cohort kind of comes together and tries to help them in any way that they can. And so it's nice to see that this community kind of expands beyond just schoolwork and it really becomes a part of your personal and professional life as well.
Yeah, I appreciate the points about R1, Residency 1 when you're down in Charlottesville together. I shared this with our visitors last night who were sitting in on an accounting class. When we first announced the program and shared that you'll have these 2-week-long residencies in Charlottesville, we got a lot of questions about that. Of course, this is a DC area-based program. Students, by and large, are taking classes here in Roslyn. And when we announced the 2 touch points in Charlottesville, people were like, "Is that necessary? Do I have to do that? Do I have to go to Charlottesville?" And almost to a person, when I ask students about one of their favorite things of the program, like what do they remember from their first year or from their program experience generally, they all talk about that first week, that first week-long residency as being a real highlight because it's the first time you're with your classmates as a full class. A lot of relationships get started there. You begin to get to know your classmates. It's a very rich week, and I just chuckled to myself knowing some of the questions that we got as we were welcoming the first class, and then now it's become such a staple of the experience, something people really look forward to. So it goes, but, I appreciate both of you mentioning that. Christine, how did you decide that you wanted to get involved with the Part-Time MBA Student Association? Of course, you've got a lot on your plate already. How did you decide you wanted to take on this engagement?
Yeah, so during R1, one of the great things that happens is the PSA board or the two presidents and section reps, rather, they come down and kind of talk to you about the importance of student leadership and all of the things that you can accomplish. And so when I was sitting back in R1 as a new student, I saw the career community and saw just all of the work that they've done to help improve the student experience and how much of an impact that has. So I immediately knew that I wanted to get involved, that I wanted to help support these new friends that I just made, and also make a better impact on Darden as a whole. That rep role was incredible. It really made me love student leadership, and that kind of led me to becoming the now section rep of the 27 cohort. But overall, it's an absolutely incredible experience. It's one that truly helps kind of mold you as a leader. And you take so many lessons from courses like leading organizations as well as other curriculum, and you're able to, again, apply it in a real world application and see almost immediate benefits or sometimes long term benefits that come from that. And it's an extremely rewarding process.
And what does it mean to be section representative? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, so section representative is pretty much, I think, the first goal that we have, or at least I say we have, is really supporting all of our VP committee members. So there's 5 different committees, and each of them have their own goals. So me and Sam oftentimes meet with them and ensure that they have all the resources that they need to succeed and kind of serve as someone that they can brainstorm ideas with. Beyond that, you're really serving to be the voice of your entire cohort to the program team, to the assistant deans, and to go ahead and help make sure that whatever needs our cohort needs are being accurately communicated and that they're being worked on upon the upper Darden administration level.
All right. So a lot of communicate.
As Sam will tell you, our email inbox is pretty full, but we love it.
Sam, how did you decide that PSA being involved in this way was something that you wanted to put on your plate?
Yeah, so my story is a little different than Christine's. I think when I was in R1, I wasn't sure if student leadership was right for me. I wasn't really sure if I wanted to take on the additional responsibility, especially with being in classes and um, starting this program and working at the same time. And so it's really great because we have the first round of elections, as we were just saying at the beginning of the podcast, within the first month of school, because we want to hear the newest classes input. But then we'll have another round of elections in the April timeframe. And so that really gave me time to think about it, to get situated into the program and to kind of establish my footing. And so at the end of my first year, I decided that I wanted to run for academic committee. And I just really enjoyed my time in the classroom, really felt like the professors were really impactful and wanted to give back to my classmates in that way, and felt like it was something that I could handle in terms of my schedule. And so for the end of my first year into my second year, served as the VP of academics for my class. And then at the end of that, wasn't really ready to give up student leadership. As Christine said, it had become really impactful. And to me, I think a major thing that I've learned at Darden is the more you put in, the more you get out of your time here. And I really kind of like wanted to enact the changes and be the change that I wanted to see for my class. And so that is why I decided to run for the president role of my class. And so it has been a great decision so far. I think it has really been a hallmark of my time here. Getting to work with Christine has been amazing, and work with the program team, and especially just seeing my class through graduation has really just been a great experience. And I think even if you are somebody that is coming into the program and has no student, government experience, or isn't sure if it's right for you, just try it out and get to see if it is right for you. I think there's a lot of ways to get involved, whether it's the PSA or clubs or other organizations, and it really can have a meaningful impact at your time at Darden.
What does it mean to be VP of academics? What does that look like?
Yeah, so the VP of academics is really overseeing everything that happens within the classroom. And so for my cohort, what that looked like was hosting exam review sessions and making sure that students had the resources that they needed to succeed in class. So VP of academics historically have hosted those review sessions based on the needs of their class. So that can look like a weekly review session before class, just going through material. That can look like pre-exam review sessions with or without professors, just kind of based on what the cohort is needing. And then also making sure that there are the resources that we need to succeed. And so, especially for the more quantitative classes, making sure that there are things like videos and other materials for people that are not as familiar with the material, and supplementing that, reaching out to professors, and just making sure that the experience that students have in the classroom is the best that it can be.
Well, Christine, I wonder if there's anything upcoming on the PSA schedule. You mentioned the Wreaths Across America, but anything else that's upcoming for the PSA that you're looking forward to?
So personally, I'm very excited for our inaugural Darden Defense Conference that's happening at Sands Family Ground this October. And it's actually what we call kind of an all Darden event. So it will have students from the full time program, the part time program, and the executive program as attendees. And it features some really incredible individuals in the national security and defense industry serving as keynotes, as panelists, and also it has our UVA faculty as moderators. And it's really kind of focused on the intersection between business and defense. So that is something that I'm extremely excited for, and I can't wait to see it come to fruition.
When does that conference take place? Is it just a few weeks from now, I think?
So it is about a month and a few weeks. It's October
Okay.
25th.
Okay. All right. Well, something to look forward to. And we've always had a few events every year up here at Sands Family Grounds. We had the Venture Capital Conference last year, the UVA Venture Capital Conference. We've had Women's Summit. We've had all kinds of things that have taken place. And it's in addition to Leadership Unscripted, we just had the FTC chairman here not so long ago. So it's nice to have this kind of extracurricular programming. Sam, anything that you're looking forward to that you're excited about?
Yeah, we're actually headed down to Charlottesville tomorrow for another All Darden event, a tailgate with the full time program as well as the executive program. So really excited to go to Charlottesville and cheer on the Who's for that. And then we are also have a PSA social event in October, which will be our first main social event with the new class. So really looking forward to that, and just getting to know people outside the classroom as well.
Any details about that social event, or is it still in the planning phases?
Still in the planning phases. It will be in Arlington, and it is mid October, I think October 17th. And so for any current students that are listening, be on the lookout for more details coming soon.
The All Darden Tailgate has been a nice addition to the events calendar. Are you expecting a strong turnout from the part-time MBA students, Sam? Obviously, William and Mary game. I expect it's going to be a UVA win, but you never know. You got to go.
Yes, we hope so. But yes, we do have strong turnout. We actually were able to get a bus from Sands Family Grounds down to Charlottesville to make it easier for students and their partners to go down. And so we have a full bus going down. We held this event last year and it was great. So really excited to be able to share some UVA traditions with new students.
Well, one more question for y'all. Christine, what's a piece of advice you would share with our prospective student listeners as they think about their own MBA journeys?
I think something that was valuable to me is knowing your why for getting an MBA. A lot of times, especially with schoolwork, your schedule is going to get a little bit busy. And knowing that why and using it for motivation throughout your journey is super helpful. And it also helps guide you into what clubs you want to go into, whether you want to join student leadership or how you want to go ahead and be a part of this larger Darden community.
All right, Sam, some question for you. Any advice?
Absolutely. I think my biggest piece of advice would just be to have confidence in yourself and what you bring to the table. I think even if you aren't really sure if you kind of are right, take that leap and try it out. We have a lot of great opportunities for prospective students to come shadow classes, to meet current students. And I think if you are even remotely thinking about getting an MBA, take advantage of those opportunities. I think getting an MBA was something that I had wanted to do, but wasn't really sure if it was right for me. And it has been such a great decision. And being a part of the Darden community is absolutely incredible. And I think that it has really allowed me to be more confident in myself and what I bring. And I think if you had asked me before I applied to Darden if I would be the president of the Part-Time Student Association, it was an absolutely no way. But here I am. And so I think that you can really grow a lot and learn a lot as well as meet really amazing people.
Yeah, class visits are a great way to experience the program. You get a chance to see what the case method looks like, maybe meet some current students, see our space. It should help you visualize the experience that you might have here. Maybe even test out your commute from work to Sands Family Grounds, of course, because these are evening weeknight classes. So students are generally coming from work. Classes are kind of 6 to 9, 9:30 on Monday and Thursdays during the core. And as mentioned, electives can be Monday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. So Sam, Christine, thank you so much for being here. It was a pleasure catching up with you. And thanks for sharing your perspectives and experiences with our listeners.
Brett, thanks for having us, Brett.
And that was my conversation with Christine Mayer and Samantha Karp, two part-time MBA students here at the Darden School of Business. As always, if you have any comments, suggestions, requests, anything you'd like us to cover here on the podcast, we're all ears. We can be reached at exec, that's ExecMBA at darden.virginia.edu. Till next time, stay safe, be well, and thanks for listening.